The next morning, fear spread across Orbital Academy faster than any celebration rumors before it. Security drones filled the station corridors while heavily armed guards stood near every major entrance. Students whispered nervously about the death threats aimed at Elias Kane after the cafeteria videos exploded across galactic networks overnight. For the first time in years, the Academy no longer felt untouchable. Inside the refugee dormitory sector, Lyra sat quietly near a small window overlooking the endless stars outside the station. Thousands of messages flooded public networks supporting her after the humiliating cafeteria incident became public. Refugee communities from distant systems called her brave, while human colonies openly defended Elias across military forums and civilian broadcasts. But despite the growing support, fear still remained deep inside Lyra's heart. She understood something dangerous had awakened after Elias revealed himself publicly. Powerful families lost reputation overnight because of the videos spreading everywhere. Extremist groups now blamed Elias for embarrassing wealthy political alliances connected to the Academy leadership. Elsewhere inside the station, Elias quietly repaired damaged maintenance panels near the outer docking sectors like nothing had changed. The human moved calmly through the hallways while nervous workers secretly watched him from a distance. To most people inside Orbital Academy, Elias Kane no longer looked like an ordinary cafeteria worker. He looked like a sleeping weapon finally awake again. Near midday, emergency alarms suddenly exploded across the station without warning. Red lights flashed violently through every corridor while automated safety doors slammed shut throughout multiple sectors. Students screamed in confusion as giant holographic warning messages appeared across the academy walls. Panic immediately spread through the station like wildfire. Security breach detected, multiple armed vessels approaching. All civilians seek shelter immediately. The entire academy instantly descended into chaos. Outside the station windows, black combat ships burst from hyperspace near Orbital Academy's orbit. Their hulls carried the symbol of a violent anti-human extremist faction feared throughout refugee territories. Smaller attack crafts rapidly launched toward the station while defense cannons opened fire across the darkness of space. Inside the academy, explosions shook the lower docking sectors moments later. Smoke flooded nearby corridors while students ran desperately through the hall searching for safety. Armed attackers wearing black combat armor stormed into the station using destroyed maintenance entrances. Their mission was simple: find Elias Kane and kill him publicly. The Academy security forces collapsed almost immediately after the attack began. Many guards lacked real combat experience and panicked under heavy fire from trained extremists. Students became trapped between sealed blast doors while terrified civilians screamed throughout the station sectors. Everything inside Orbital Academy turned into complete disorder within minutes. Near the central hallway intersections, Lyra helped a group of younger refugee students hide inside an abandoned classroom. The small alien girl trembled with fear while distant gunfire echoed through the station around them. Every instinct inside her body begged her to hide somewhere safe and never move again. But then she remembered Elias standing beside her in the cafeteria. And something inside Lyra slowly changed. Meanwhile, Elias moved through smoke-filled corridors with terrifying calmness despite the chaos surrounding him. Years of war instantly returned to his mind the moment the attack started. Every movement became sharp and controlled again, while old military instincts guided him naturally through danger. The exhausted cafeteria worker disappeared completely. Captain Elias Kane had returned. Near the western transport sectors, several extremist soldiers cornered trapped students beside sealed evacuation doors. Terrified civilians pressed against the walls while attackers aimed plasma rifles directly toward them. Then heavy footsteps echoed slowly through the smoke-covered hallway behind the armed extremists. One attacker turned around nervously. Elias stood there silently. The station lights flickered across the old scar running beside the human's neck while smoke drifted around his broad shoulders. His calm eyes carried no fear at all. For one brief second, the extremists suddenly understood why entire armies once feared Terran Void Marines during the wars. Then Elias attacked. The fight ended almost instantly. Precise movements, fast strikes, absolute control. Within seconds, armed extremists crashed unconscious across the corridor floor while terrified students stared at the human marine in complete disbelief. Elias quickly ordered the civilians toward emergency shelters before continuing deeper into the burning station alone. Across the academy, students began hearing impossible stories spreading through communication channels. A single human was rescuing trapped civilians sector by sector. Attackers disappeared wherever Elias appeared. Refugee students, professors, and even wealthy families slowly realized the station had not completely fallen yet, because one human refused abandoning them. Near the damaged central reactor halls, Lyra suddenly found herself trapped again when explosions destroyed nearby corridors. Several frightened younger students cried beside her while smoke filled the hallway rapidly. Then armed extremists appeared through the smoke carrying plasma rifles toward the terrified children. Lyra froze in fear, but this time she did not run. The small alien girl stepped in front of the younger students despite her trembling body. Her silver blue eyes filled with fear, but she still refused moving aside. The attackers laughed after seeing such a weak refugee trying to protect others. Then gunfire suddenly erupted behind them. Elias emerged from the smoke like a ghost from old war stories while the extremists collapsed instantly onto the floor. The human moved quickly toward the frightened children while blood stained part of his damaged jacket. One deep plasma wound burned across his shoulder, but Elias ignored the injury completely. "You protected them," Elias said quietly while looking toward Lyra. The small alien girl slowly nodded despite tears running down her face. For the first time since arriving at Orbital Academy, Lyra no longer looked weak. Hours later, Alliance security fleets finally arrived and forced the remaining attackers to retreat from the station. Fires slowly died across damaged Academy sectors while emergency workers evacuated injured civilians through smoking hallways. The battle ended, but the galaxy had already witnessed everything through live emergency broadcasts. They watched Elias Kane protect students who once mocked him. They watched refugee children saving civilians during the attack, and they watched Lyra standing beside the wounded human Marine instead of hiding in fear. Days later, the Academy gathered survivors inside the repaired Central Hall. Refugee protection laws were officially announced while Croven and several wealthy students publicly apologized before the entire station. But the most emotional moment came quietly afterward inside the medical wing. Elias rested silently on a hospital bed while stars glowed softly beyond the window beside him. Then Lyra entered the room carrying a small food tray carefully in both hands. Without speaking, she placed the meal beside the injured Marine before sitting quietly nearby. Years earlier, Elias refused letting her suffer alone on the cafeteria floor. Now Lyra refused letting the human hero eat alone either. And somewhere beyond the station windows, the galaxy slowly remembered something important about humanity once again. Sometimes the galaxy feared humans for their strength, but it remembered them for their kindness.